Mama Titi's canteen was the busiest in the entire neighborhood. From early morning till late at night, customers lined up, eager to buy her steaming bowls of pepper soup, jollof rice, and goat meat. Her food had a special taste, one that made people crave for more. No one could explain why it was different, but they all agreed once you ate at Mama Titi's canteen, no other food tasted the same. She ran the canteen with precision. Her workers, two young girls and a teenage boy, worked tirelessly under her sharp eyes. She was known for being strict, but she paid well and no one complained. She never allowed anyone into her cooking area, the small back room where she prepared her special soups was always locked. Even her workers were forbidden from entering. She has secret ingredients, people whispered. That's why her food is the best. And it was true. There was a secret, but it wasn't spices or cooking techniques. It was something far more disturbing, something that would turn people's stomach if they ever found out. But for now, the people ate, laughed, and praised her food, never knowing truly what they were made of. Jide was a university student who lived down the street from Mama Titi's canteen. He had been eating there for months, but lately something felt off. Every time he ate the food, he felt strange, lightheaded, weak, and sometimes even nauseous. Maybe it's just stress, his friend Tolu said, shrugging, or maybe you eat too much of it. Jide wasn't convinced. He had a sharp mind and a habit of observing small details. Over time, he started noticing things about Mama Titi. She always arrived at the canteen before dawn. She never bought her ingredients from the market like other vendors. She would disappear for hours and return with a covered bucket, always taking it straight to her back room kitchen. One evening, Jide decided to stay late and watch her from a distance. He saw her workers leave for the night, but Mama Titi remained behind. That night, she didn't lock up early. Instead, she carried the covered bucket and left through the back gate. Jide's curiosity burned. Where was she going? What was in that bucket? The next night, he decided to follow her. Jide waited until the street was quiet before stepping out of his apartment. He wore dark clothes and kept a safe distance as he followed Mama Titi. She walked quickly, taking narrow paths and avoiding well-lit roads. It was clear she didn't want to be seen. After 20 minutes of walking, she arrived at the back of a small run-down building, the old mortuary near the abandoned hospital. Jide's stomach twisted. Why was she here? He crouched behind a broken fence, his breath coming in short gaps. He watched as Mama Titi spoke to an old man at the back of the mortuary. They exchanged a few words, and then he handed her something, a bucket similar to the one she always carried. She lifted the lid slightly and peered inside before nodding. Jide's hand trembled. He could smell something even from where he hid, a foul, sickening stench that made him want to gag. Mama Titi turned and started walking back. Jide knew he had seen something terrible, but he had no idea how deep the horror went. The next morning, Jide couldn't eat. His appetite was gone. Every time he thought about Mama Titi's food, he remembered the bucket at the mortuary and the rotten smell. He had to find out more. Instead of going to his morning class, he made his way to the abandoned hospital. It had been shut down for years after rumors spread about unclean practices and missing bodies. Now, only a few workers remained to manage the mortuary. Jide found one of them, an old cleaner who had worked there for years. He bought the man a bottle of palm wine and asked about Mama Titi. The old man chuckled bitterly. "She's been coming here for a long time," he said. "At first, we thought she was one of those people who perform strange rituals. But no, she was always asking for one thing." Jide swallowed hard. "What?" The old man leaned closer and whispered, "Water." Jide frowned. "Water?" The old man nodded. "The water we use to wash the corpses. She takes it in buckets." Jide's entire body went cold. His stomach churned. The special taste of Mama Titi's food was corpse water. He stumbled away, feeling like he would vomit. He had to tell someone, but who would believe him? And more importantly, what would Mama Titi do if she found out he knew her secrets? Jide felt sick to his stomach. His legs were weak as he walked back home, his mind racing. He had eaten that food. Everyone had eaten that food, and all this time it had been prepared with water from dead bodies. He sat on his bed, gripping his head. He needed to tell someone, but how? If he started telling people, would they believe him? Mama Titi was a respected woman. People adored her. If he spread such a rumor, they might think he was trying to ruin her business. His friend Tolu called, asking why he hadn't been in class. Jide hesitated, then decided to tell him everything. At first, Tolu laughed. "Corpse water? Jide, are you hearing yourself? Do you know how ridiculous you sound?" "I followed her, Tolu. I saw her with my own eyes. She collects water from the mortuary." Tolu's laughter faded. "Wait, you're serious?" "As serious as death itself," Jide replied. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Tolu sighed. "This is deep, bro. If it is true, we can't just start shouting in the streets. We need proof." Jide already knew that, but the idea of getting proof meant only one thing. He would have to get closer to Mama Titi, and that terrified him. Jide came up with a risky plan. He decided to work at Mama Titi's canteen for a few days. If he could get inside her kitchen, he might find undeniable proof. The next morning, he approached Mama Titi at her canteen. She was surprised but not suspicious when he asked for a job. "Why do you want to work here?" she asked, folding her arms. "I need extra money for school," Jide lied smoothly. Mama Titi studied him, then nodded. "Fine, but you follow my rules." Jide forced a smile. "Of course, ma." From that day on, he was inside the canteen. He chopped vegetables, washed plates, and served food. But he never got close to the backroom kitchen where she kept her special ingredients. The place was always locked. Only Mama Titi had the key. But Jide was patient. He knew he had to wait for the perfect moment. And that moment came sooner than he expected. One evening, after all the customers had left, Mama Titi told her workers to go home early. "I'll have to prepare something special for tomorrow," she said. Jide pretended to leave with the others, but he hid behind the building watching. After a few minutes, he saw Mama Titi step out of the back kitchen with her usual covered bucket. She locked the door and walked out through the back gate, heading towards the mortuary. Jide's heart pounded. This was his chance. He ran to the locked kitchen door. He had taken a metal wire earlier, hoping it would be useful. His hands shook as he picked at the lock. It took longer than he expected, but finally the lock opened. Jide pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air was thick with the smell of herbs and spices and something else, something rotten. On a wooden table, a large pot of soup was still warm. But Jide wasn't interested in the pot. His eyes scanned the shelves. There were bottles, powders, and different ingredients. Then in the corner, he saw a large clay pot covered with a thick black cloth. His throat was dry as he stepped closer. With trembling hands, he pulled the cloth away and opened the pot. The stench hit him first. Then under the dim light, he saw the murky greenish liquid inside. Floating on the surface were strands of something that looks like hair. Jide gagged, stumbling back. There was no doubt now. This was the corpse water, and Mama Titi had been using it to cook. Jide was frozen in terror. His mind screamed for him to run, but his legs wouldn't move. He needed to get out before Mama Titi returned. He turned around too quickly, knocking over a bottle. It crashed to the floor with a loud smash. Panic shot through him. He didn't wait. He bolted out of the kitchen, not bothering to close the door behind him. He ran all the way home, his chest burning for hours. He sat in his room shaking. What had he just seen? What was he supposed to do now? Then his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Hello? A slow, familiar voice came through. Jide, I know what you did. His blood went cold. It was Mama Titi. Jide couldn't breathe. His fingers tightened around the phone. Mama Titi. His voice was barely a whisper. She laughed, but it wasn't a normal laugh. It was slow, controlled, and filled with something dark. I let you work for me. I let you into my space, and this is how you repay me. Jide swallowed hard. You've been feeding people corpse water. Then, in a softer tone, she said, people have been eating my food for years, Jide. They are healthy and happy. No one has died. Jide felt sick. Was she serious? You need to leave this alone, she continued. Curiosity is dangerous. Do you understand? Jide gritted his teeth. I'm not afraid of you. Mama Titi sighed. You should be. Then the call ended. Jide sat in the darkness of his room, his heart pounding. What has he gotten himself into? The next morning, he went to the police. He told them everything. They didn't believe him at first, but when they went to inspect Mama Titi's canteen, they found the back kitchen unlocked and empty. The clay pot was gone. The shelves were clean. There was no evidence left. Mama Titi was sitting in her shop smiling. She acted surprised, even amused at Jide's accusations. Me? Using corpse water? Ah, my son, that's a terrible thing to say, she said, shaking her head. Do you think I do rituals? The police had no choice but to let her go. Jide was furious. She had cleaned up everything, but then she did something strange. She packed her things and left town that night. No one ever saw Mama Titi again. Months passed by, but people still talked about Mama Titi's disappearance. Some believed Jide's story, others thought he was crazy. One thing was certain, after she left, no other canteen in town ever tasted the same. Jide tried to move on, but sometimes when he ate, he imagined the taste of something different, something foul. He knew he would never forget, because no matter how much time passed, the taste of the dead never truly left.